Welcome to BetRacingNation here on Sports Tonight Live. This is a special Breeders' Cup edition, and there's some big races happening on Friday and Saturday, and we're going to focus on 4 of the main races, but we will give selections from some of the others as well. And tonight I'm joined on the sofa by our 2 normal panellists. Billy Blakeman, good evening.
Evening, Peter.
Tom Marriott.
Good evening, Peter.
And Dan Munn, who specialises in these kind of races overseas. Billy has been studying all day.
It's been a long time since I've been called normal, Pete.
Yeah, well, you're not normal, but you're the handicap man, so I don't know what you make of racing on Saturday.
I'm here to learn.
Absolutely. And we hopefully learn off the man himself.
Of course.
Dan Munn. I was going to call you Dan the Man, but it's not quite right.
Wise Dan.
Wise Dan.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Wise Dan a little bit later on. Just first of all, for people watching this that don't know the characteristics of the course, I mean, we know it's the oldest track in California and it's circled. But give us the characteristics of the course.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's an anti-clockwise California-based track. Like I say, it's one of the oldest tracks in America. It's got its unique characteristics in that it's got its own turf sprint course. It's a 6.5 furlong sprint course downhill. There is no other course like that in America. It's very unique. It used to be polytrack. We used to farm the races over there with the likes of Ravens Pass in the Breeders' Cup Classic a couple of years back. It's now back on dirt, and it's quite wide open this year.
Now, there are a number of Euro horses. They call it Euros out in the States. When do those horses get there? And, I mean, obviously they have trouble playing, but they're going to need some time to acclimatise to the weather there and everything else, I guess. Is everyone there now? I mean, we're calling now.
Yeah, as of today, everyone's there. Aidan O'Brien's battalion was the last lot that went out there. Shipped out on Tuesday morning from Ireland, arrived on Thursday, so they'll be out there straight onto the track today, I believe.
And what I noticed about them, and I don't know if you guys have seen this as well, Billy, Tom, they actually go around the track. They actually trial them around the track.
Oh, yeah,
and they
take
sort of
preview almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which you don't get in any other big races.
Yeah, I mean, it varies from the type of work they do. Some of them will look to really get a nice piece of galloping work into their horses. Aidan's completely different in that he'll just take them out to the track just to get used to the surroundings, and that'll be it for the Bay Door horses.
Okay, let's move on. We're going to cover 4 of the main races, and that starts off with the 10:22. I won't ask you why it starts at 10:22 and not 10:20.
There are times, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking at like the 9:47 followed by the 10:22.
Absolutely. This is the Breeders' Cup. Breeders' Cup Turf. And there's 2 Euro horses that we know all about. Let's start with those first, and I'll come to you in a minute, Dan, about the US horses. Let's start about the Fugue and Magician. So I don't know if you guys want to give your views on...
I can chip in what I know about the Fugue, more than I know about every other horse in this Breeders' Cup race. But no, the Fugue was very impressive in pretty tacky ground in the Irish Champion Stakes at Was it Leopardstown?
Yeah, it got soft that day, and he had to come on the near side, and they were a bit...
It did get a little bit soft, as I say, tacky ground, and they were a bit worried about it for the horse because he seems to skim along the turf quite nicely. But he picked up well on that day, beat Al Kazim over what is arguably the Derby Colts.
But is it
distance.
form? Is it form that can take this big prize, Billy?
It's a she, but she's obviously a really nice filly. This is a big ask, big travel. I wouldn't see any value in the 2-1 basically. She's got the class to win it. You could see.
Only 2 minutes in, I'm being corrected, which is great.
I'd have thought improving again, stepping back up to 1 mile 4 from the 1 mile 2 for me as well. The way that she finished towards the end of that race suggested that 2 furlongs will maybe see her, bump up another few pounds in the rating for me. But again, it is a tough ask going over to the Breeders' Cup.
If this race was run in the UK, would she be 2-1 in the UK? If this race was run in the UK, would she be shorter?
I mean, would it be 2-1 out there?
I think she'd be shorter if this race was run here.
Yeah,
she'd be a lot shorter. I think if you go back, forget the Champion Stakes, which was impressive in ground that she realistically doesn't enjoy. You go back to the Yorkshire Oaks, where she was phenomenally impressive.
Yeah. 4-1 on that day, I think.
She's just taken it all in her stride, gone on quite nicely. William Buick hasn't needed to ask her very much to win, and that's the ground in this year's Breeders' Cup Turf is going to be quite similar. She could have gone in the filly and mare turf, which is a lesser equivalent, really, same kind of prize money, but she's gone for this, and to be fair, she's a worthy favourite.
Let's talk about the US horses. Point of entry.
Yep.
Got slightly injured last time, is that a fair comment?
Yeah, injured in winning the last race.
So that's even more impressive.
Has been off the track for a considerable amount of time, has come back into work for the last 6 to 8 weeks or so, serious work. This is a huge ask for a horse to come back off an injury that could have put it out for the whole season. They're coming back for the Breeders' Cup Turf potentially because of the prize money.
And Little Mike, who won it last year.
Yeah.
Not the same horse.
Not the same horse. Won last time out. He could inherit an easy lead, just like last season. If he doesn't, for me, he's not going to be in there.
Is there anything else in there? I mean, I know Billy wanted to mention...
I've got a question for Dan, actually, on
Yeah.
point of entry. I mean, he's been off for 147 days. In America, how common is that? Because obviously in the UK, a horse can be fresh and run well, it can be deliberately fresh. In America, is it more the case that they race closer to these big races?
I mean, look, we were saying earlier on that the American programme is kind of an all-year-round programme. Obviously, you've got racing on Boxing Day, you've got racing in this Breeders' Cup.
We're talking about the Kentucky Derby, which
Kentucky
is what,
Derby
back end of May, did you say? Yeah.
I mean, 147 days off the track for a turf, long-distance turf horse. It's not really very common over there. But he's got to come back from the injury.
You wanted to mention briefly, you went through this race and he came up with Big Blue Kitten.
I did. I mean, he was beaten by Little Mike last time, but I thought perhaps a little bit unlucky and maybe he could have won that. So I'd be on the side of Big Blue Kitten each way.
And how does it work out in terms of... Is it tote-based out there?
Yeah, it's fully tote-based. You've got your normal exactas, trifectas, win, place and show. So
do you have the first 4 and the first 5? And
yeah, superfectas would be great. If we could get a couple of those up, that would certainly pay for a few dinners.
Is there anything else worth mentioning? I mean, Real Solution is an Arlington.
Yeah, Real Solution, Arlington Million winner. There's only been one Arlington Million winner that's come into this race and won the Breeders' Cup Turf. Okay. That was Little Mike last year. He is owned by the same owner as Big Blue Kitten, and I'm siding with Billy, obviously, on Big Blue Kitten. I think that potentially he should have won last time. It's coming in, well, this season has been in the form of his life. And it's a huge price still at 7-1.
Slightly behind on the ratings compared to
I
some
wouldn't be worried about that. I think
right, okay.
back at going to Santa Anita, coming off the pace that Little Michael set, I'd be quite confident.
Okay, it's selection time. Do I ask the expert first?
Yes.
Dan, give us your selection in that.
It'd be Big Blue Kitten for me.
Okay. And Billy,
very pleased to hear that, because Big Blue Kitten for me as well.
Well, I mean, I know enough about the Fugue. I might have a little bit each way, not each way, probably to win on the Fugue. It'd be nice to see a Raider to win. One, I will point
you not only back 1 to 2 shots to win on in maidens, Tom, but you go for 2 to 1, 7-4 shots each.
No, and what I know, I think the Fugue is obviously the pick of the Raiders. There, I'd tempt anyone away from backing Magician. Just the fact that. Likely this is me giving a bit of pedigree inside of this, but he's a 3-year-old and he's going up to 1.5 miles. On the dam side is by Mozart, which we all know is a sprinty type and a speedy type, and I just don't think he'll get the 1.5 miles.
So it's quite interesting that, Ed O'Brien's run this horse over a mile all the time and then suddenly goes 1.5 miles.
Yeah, I think his best performance, to be fair to the horse, was over 1 mile 2 at Chester. But for me, he's not a genuine 1.5 mile horse. He won't get the 1.5 miles.
I mean, for ourselves, it's a watching brief, but from you two guys' point of view, you do like Big Blue Kitten. Yeah. Okay, let's move on now to the 11:01. This is the Express Bet Breeders' Cup Sprint. Let's talk about 1 or 2. Obviously, there's more of an American slant on this race than Euros. I don't think there's actually a Euro horse in it.
No Euro horse in this race.
So this one might be entirely down to you, Dan. Let's talk about the likely favourite, which is Private Zone. Yeah. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, went to Meydan at the beginning of the season. Didn't really put in the greatest of performances there. Was fancied to go on and win the big sprint over there. Has finally come back into himself last time out. Set some superb fractions up front. Has kept on kicking on nicely in that race. And to be honest, he wasn't entitled to win that off of the fractions he was setting. It's an impressive performance. He's coming back over to California for this race. Personally, I don't like him for the win, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him winning.
Billy, you again had a look at this race. Justin Phillip Storm.
I don't know. Can
I just say, 1, is that a bad draw?
For him, yeah. The owners are quite concerned with that.
Right. So before you're going to go to Billy, embarrass you even further.
Yeah. I've got another question for Dan, actually, for the viewers at home as much as me. But when we say dirt in America, we're talking about... We're not talking about polytrack, we're talking about dirt.
Yeah.
How similar is that to... Sorry, that's
Revelation.
Revelation. But just how similar is that to what we call the all-weather?
Yeah, I mean, you get the different surfaces. They're quite compacted. You know, they're compacted similarly.
But dirt can be presumably quite firm or
mud.
No, it's
it's
proper.
dirt.
Yeah, it's proper.
It's proper dirt.
Yeah.
I'm enlightened, sorry. I just thought Justin Phillip was unlucky last time behind Private Zone. And I felt that, again, he could turn the form mad. I do take your point about Stall One.
The only concern with Justin Phillip, the owners had a similar horse by the name of Sensational, who was an out-and-out speedball, running this race from Stall One a couple of years ago. He struggled to take them all the way and finished up 4th or 5th. Justin Phillip isn't particularly in the same mould as that, but he's consistent.
One that you like is Secret Circle.
Yeah.
Is that right? I mean, it's been off the track for a year, has a run.
Yeah.
Bounce factor?
Potentially. Was thought of by Bob Baffert as a potential Kentucky Derby horse. Now, obviously, his first runs as a 2-year-old, he went in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Sprint. It was a race that was absolutely pointless, has been dropped from the programme now. But he came back after a year off, was running over these mile, 7 furlong distances, etc. He's come back down to the sprint distances. He looked great in the prep race that he ran in. Tracked the pace quite nicely, kicked on, kept on going. And although this is a big step up, Baffert likes him. He could be the one.
Making up the numbers you've quoted here as Bahamian and Squill. I mean, that's 8-10 to 1, so there's no chance.
Disappointed last time. I actually tipped it up on the programme last time. And,
Well done.
Yeah.
Cheers.
So I got 2 winners that day, I'm fine.
Same as when you tipped up, what was it? Not tipped up novelist for the Arc.
We'll remind him what he tips up at the Breeders' Cup at the end of this
absolutely,
programme. But yeah, I mean, potentially making up the numbers. I think he's there just to contribute to the pace.
Do we have a selection, guys?
Not at all.
Not at all?
I've got a blank page on
You
this
got a back one?
I do take on board Dan's comments. I've got to stick with Justin Phillip, having picked it.
I'll be with whatever old Johnny Velasquez is on, probably, because I know he's a bit of a
Justin
top
Phillip.
jock. Oh, is he?
Yes.
Oh, well done, we agree then.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
for me, Secret Circle, just because.
Talking
of
about
the-
jockeys, though, I mean, from a Euro point of view or GB point of view or whatever it might be, who are the best jockeys in America? I mean, who are the ones that, you know, are no quarter given, won't let anyone in? Who are the ones that we should be watching?
A couple of years ago, you could have said Mike Smith. For me personally, now, less so. I think he's starting to waver a little bit since the years of Zenyatta. I think potentially he could have retired after the years of Zenyatta. That's probably controversial. But
Mike Smith, he takes up a couple of rides for Godolphin, doesn't he, across
Yeah.
the card, I think.
Yeah,
maybe
he
on Friday.
rides-
So he's
I haven't
a
asked you
jockey
for your
in demand.
selection. Sorry, I should go back to this race. What's your selection, Dan?
Secret Circle.
Secret Circle at the prices. Now, after the break, we are obviously concentrating on the 2 bigger races, if you like, the Breeders' Cup Mile at 11:40 and also the Breeders' Cup itself. And we will, over the course of the winter, we'll be offering special 30-minute programmes on a variety of things, from handicapping to all-weather tracks and how betting exchanges work, etc., etc. So there will be a number of programmes that we'll be doing over the winter as well. But in the meantime, after the break, it's all about the Breeders' Cup and really get these guys' opinions on who's going to win it.